On this episode, building rockets. Hey everybody, this is the Quarter Show, and today we're talking about building rockets, or something along those lines. So look, I mean, I've got some notes here, whether you're building a rocket or you're building a company, there's things along the way that you didn't factor in or you didn't plan for, right? And you have to, I'm actually, speaking of rockets, I'm listening to a Elon Musk book right now, which is great. I recommend it. You should check it out. And it's talking a lot about SpaceX and things like this, and some of the downfalls and some of the problems that goes into building a rocket. And they weren't a government company. They're a private company that set out to build a rocket. And there's all these different barriers that went into doing that. And it's amazing. You have all these scientists, all these incredibly smart minds working. I think they ultimately had at some point 500 staff, and you have all these incredible people, and they're trying to build these rockets, and yet every time they test it, they had launch after launch after launch, and every time they tested it, it was just something wrong. Something blows, the rocket blows up. There's some little piping or some little tubing or something didn't work, or the fuel's sloshing around and it blows up, and it was like, it would just suck the life out of these guys and gals, and here they are trying to put their best talent into it, trying to come up with everything they can, and after it keeps doing it, you get completely exasperated, but you realize what goes into solving that problem is constant tinkering, constant pivoting, constant problem solving and figuring and working and moving through, and so you need to solve these problems. You need to solve these problems by coming up with new ideas and innovating and inspecting each problem and handling that problem and pivoting and doing all these things along the way. And the parallel is that it's the same in sales. Right? You look at sales and it's like you need to pivot as you go along in the deal, as you follow the deal along and you go through the process. I think it's easy for salespeople to sort of hook onto a contact or some person that they're working with, and maybe you call them, you say, hey Chuck, it's Tom over here, and you're you leave a voicemail for them, or you call them, or you send them a proposal, and then that's it. And then you're they didn't call you back, or nothing happened, and you're out of solutions, and you're I don't know, they didn't call me back, and I don't know, the deal's not happening. It's are you tinkering, right? Are you problem solving and pivoting and innovating on your sales cycle? Are you entirely solving every single thing that you need to go through in order to have mission accomplished at the other side? In order to actually successfully build the rocket and launch the rocket successfully where it doesn't blow up? Or are you literally having a fuel, rubber tubing break, and that's where you stop, right? And you're I don't know, it's not working. Right? Or the rocket blows up and you're it blew up. Right? Because what they're doing at SpaceX is they go right back to work. They go right back to work until mission accomplished. And I look at it the same way in sales. I look at it as a journey. When you're going through the sales process, it's a journey. And that journey may mean that you had a plan for the sale. You already had a plan. You thought you were going to do something. And as you go, the process, the path reveals new data, new information as you go. So you have a problem here, you run into a problem here, and it wasn't factored in your plan because you didn't know that information. And so you have to pivot and you problem solve and you keep going. And that may mean that you went from this contact, but now you're over at the CFO, and you're also over at procurement, and you're also over at the CEO, and you're also over the COO or the president, the executive vice president over here. And you're having to work your way through the deal in order to have mission accomplished, which is coming out the other side with a signed contract and a done deal. This is very similar to building a company or building a rocket. You can't get stuck or fixated because you ran into an obstacle at one point, right? You have to completely or continually innovate and problem solve and pivot as you go to solve the greater equation of the sales cycle.
And it's not that there's just a lot of ways to do this, there's an infinite number of ways to do this. So the problem, the thing is, if you think that you're ever at a dead end, then that's really a problem with your own creativity.
Right.
You have to, like there was a call I had with one of my juniors this morning, and she was like, well, I want to get this done, and we're meeting on Friday. And I looked at it, I listened to everything she said about the deal, and I've seen this before, right? And I could be wrong, but like, I've seen it before. And I said, between now and then, and I named off 8 different communications from 8 different angles that she needs to get to this person, because I promise they will not even take that call on Friday at all if she doesn't hit it from this angle and that angle and this, and I named out about 8 different things. And the thing is, like, you know, and you talk about pivot, and you can go to different people. You can go to the CFO, the COO, and all the different folks. You can go up to the top and the CEO and all these different things. I've also seen Robert take a deal where I think he got in the middle of a conversation on the phone. He got back in. He got a salesperson here and back into the conversation with the client or the prospect, and it was at this grinded dead end of like 3 2-minute videos or whatever for this certain budget, and we don't have any more budget. And Robert was like, well, how about like 6 shorter videos for more than the budget you named? That's what you should really do. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. Like it was, I remember exactly where everything was, but that was another kind of pivot. Like you talk about tinkering with rockets, there's a certain, we built the rocket this way, and we have these videos, they're gonna be doing these things. Look, that's not gonna work for what we're trying to do. Let's build this set, right? Here's another great idea. So it's really only limited by your creativity.
Yeah.
You know, and willingness to repeat what you've said too, because that's also another thing.
Right, repeat what you said and keep going over it, because like Ben says, like this is your creativity, right? Like this is your creativity on a given deal, and I think it's easy or lazy to get stuck and allow that to be an excuse to get you off the hook. Like, I went to such and such, and they won't get back to me, or they're not interested, or they're going to put it on hold, or something, right? Or something, or they're going to push it off the 4th quarter. And here you are accepting that, and it would be no different than Elon Musk and his crew accepting something with building the rocket, where they're like, geez, you know what? We don't have the rubber thing that we need, and it would be 6 months to get that. Instead, what they do is they home grow the bit that they need, and they literally make their own parts, because it might take them 6 months to get a part from some other supplier. They literally, at SpaceX, are making their own parts. They force the team to make their own parts, and at 1/10 the cost of the other company, right? They're literally, and they're doing it in something that should take 6 months, they're doing it in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference, is that nothing is impossible, and that you force it into existence, and that you be creative, you innovate, you pivot, and you problem solve as you go, and you just treat it as part of the journey to get to the mission accomplished, right? Successful mission accomplished, which is rocket launch into orbit, right? Not like, oh, we tried, or not like, oh, the rocket blew up. It's like launched successfully into orbit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with your sales cycle. When you look at it, it's mission accomplished. It's sale, contract, happen, money, done. Mm-hmm. And whatever comes up on the way to accomplishing that, you need to be creative, innovate, pivot, problem solve.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, obviously it is all on your shoulders. It's not on your prospect, it's not on your client, it's 100% on yours. But you can encourage them to be the same way. You would believe how many times when I got on the phone, oh yeah, I love it, we didn't plan that budget. No one plans for this budget. No one goes, you know, I think 3 months from now, I'm going to be wanting to do video. I'm going to put aside X dollars. No, they don't want to.
Nothing goes as planned. By the way, I just want to put this in. Have a plan and know that nothing goes as planned.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, of course, like, plans are valuable. Nothing goes as planned.
Yeah, I mean, 1 out of every 50 reaches given to me, I call them, I tell them about Richter. They ask for a proposal, and they sign it off 5 minutes later. Maybe 1 out of every, I don't know, 50 is a nice number, right?
Sure.
That would be as planned, but most of the time it doesn't go as planned. The world requires you to be creative and to continue in your action and to go get them and to have a lot of intention and keep persistent. It requires you to. So that's the truth. And instill that in your prospects and clients as well. It is all on your shoulders though. But, bring them to the table with you. How can we figure this out? We should figure this out. Here's another idea. What do you think of that idea? Well, I think that could work.
So have a plan on each deal. Like, you have to have a plan on your deal, obviously. But you have to be ready for the obstacles and the barriers that come up. And you call them objections, you call them whatever you want. The point is that the course that you take, you're going to hit terrain, rocky terrain, pivot, but you're not done until the deal is signed and closed. And it's all too easy for salespeople to say they weren't qualified. First of all, what does that even mean? Like, if you have a valuable product or service and they need it, or that company is good.
Yeah, the number of times where you give up on a prospect for some reason is very low. It's 1 or 2%.
The money that's left on the table, by the way, by this whole thing is, like, somebody else is just getting that, right? Somebody else is just saying, thank you.
If you find yourself kicking one prospect to the curb a week, you're overdoing it.
You're overdoing it. Like, you're oh, they weren't qualified. Like,
or anything.
Can we just knock it off with the whole not qualified thing and just do your thing, right? Get after it and make it happen.
Yeah, one of my smaller clients has purchased one of our larger products, and it was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
It didn't need to surprise me because it's not like Richter's is bank breaking in our products or something like this. But you can't think of it that way.
For the last 9 years, I guess, we've never subscribed to the whole they're not qualified thing or whatever. Like, we have target public, we have this thing that we do, but we've never subscribed to the idea that, like, they're not qualified in this whole thing that people do, or, oh, you should only invest this much time in a prospect and then you got to get out of there. And I know there's that information, people are like, oh, never do this much. And I've seen sales books talk about it and sales leaders talk about it because you're wasting your time or it's negative or whatever.
Stupid.
We've made the Inc. 5000 list 4 years in a row. Right? For the last 4 years, made Silicon Valley Business Journal 4 years in a row, fast growth 4 years in a row. I'm not saying this to brag or toot our own horn. We made the Entrepreneur 360 list. Like, sales,
Look out.
growth.
Here we come.
I don't know what to tell you. Don't do it. It's bull.
I signed up 2 clients recently that have both been, and this is not a point of pride, that have both been in my lineup for a year. And I signed them both up. And I tell you what, a new client is worth a lot. And it's worth helping them. Right? And it wasn't that much for me to keep in communication with them and work it out.
It's not. Be efficient. Be faster about your sales cycle.
Yeah.
Get it closed faster.
Right.
Do the right moves and you'll get it closed faster.
Yeah.
But that requires you to be smart, think on your feet, and pivot and tinker and solve problems very quickly and in a short amount of time throughout the sales process, as opposed to just going, you know what, I couldn't do it and bouncing out of the deal or
I'll put somebody aside for a minute.
Whatever,
I've got 2 columns on my lineup. I've got 2 columns. I might move them over for a minute, but I'm going to come back to them. I'm going to get everybody.
Really look at each cycle on your lineup and really go, like, what does it actually take to solve this problem? What does it actually take to get to mission accomplished? How do I actually, ask yourself, how do I actually conclude this cycle? Like, what's it actually going to take to conclude the cycle based off the data I have now? Then you make some moves and you say, okay, good, based off the data I have now what does it take? Based off the data I have now what does it take? And you keep pivoting and evolving throughout that cycle as new data is revealed, right? Rocket blows up, new solutions, right? Something breaks off, new solution. Something breaks off, new solution. Something this goes awry, new solution. Keep going, next thing you know, successful launch into orbit. And just keep doing that through your cycles and you're gonna get more cycles done. Your close percentage will grow and you'll take less losses on what you're doing. Okay? Hope that helps. Hope you liked it. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel there. And if you loved it, hit like and share it on social. We certainly appreciate it. Okay? Thanks.